My humble pranams at the divine lotus feet of our dearest, most beloved Swami. It is with his immense grace we're able to assemble here today and celebrate the Avatar Declaration Day in this most important year in our lives, the 100th year of Swami's Advent. And we are indeed fortunate. We are doing this during this festival season, very important season, where we're all plugged into divinity. And we are also fortunate today we have with us a brother who is an example of a devotee to Swami. All of you know about Amey. This is not a new introduction of him, but let me do the formal introduction part a little bit, then I will tell you what I love about this brother who is here with us today. He has received 2 gold medals from the hands of Swami. And he is one of those melodious, wonderful voices of the Prasanthi Mandir group. And he's also not a stranger to us because he has been to this area and the Prasanthi Mandir group visited. And hopefully, and maybe hope that we will actually see you in person in the near future. But for today, we are going to celebrate with Amey remotely. And brother has been very actively involved now in actually finding ways to, maybe I should not say finding ways, in training people on Swami's teachings of human values. The multiplier effect it's going to have is tremendous. I don't need to re-emphasize that. And Teja and I had an opportunity to sit with him for 45 minutes when we were in Perthi the other day, a couple of months back. And the insight he has and the great work they're doing, it's going to touch all of us pretty soon. It has touched some people already. And before I conclude, I have to tell you what a humble, devoted, pleasant, cooperating, there are many adjectives, because when you set up something like this, especially when we have to do it remote, we do have to make sure that all the logistics are there. The patience with which he has worked us, including this morning, coming half an hour early, so on and so forth. There are so many examples I can quote. Brother, thank you so much. We are all now ready to be immersed in your message. And we thank Swami once again for sending you our way this morning in United States. Thank you.
Sai Ram, everyone. Let me begin with Sai Gayatri. Oh. Saishwaraya vidmahe satyadevaya dhimahi tanna sarvah prachodayat. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Invoking the divine presence and the benediction of our ever-present Swami, and offering our loving pranams at his divine lotus feet. Revered elders, dear brothers and sisters, a very warm and loving Sai Ram from Prasanthi Nilayam. It is, at the outset, I would like to take this opportunity to wish you all and your families a very, very happy Diwali. What a beautiful occasion. Yes, a beautiful occasion. And I was also told that today there is going to be a celebration in the sense you're going to have the crackers of bhajans going on the entire day. So I'm not sure whether in Washington, in Bethesda, you're allowed to actually burst crackers, but I'm sure that you will be bursting and spreading the light and love of Swami's name through the beautiful bhajans that are going to follow. And for that, in fact, the other day when we were discussing with Suri uncle, the thought that came was, are you really going to sit through 1 hour of talk and after that 100 bhajans? I must, pay my respects to all of you for your longevity, your patience, and really you're all like marathon runners. This is this is going to be a long day for you. So, in fact, I was asking, can I wrap it up as soon as possible? Frankly, in the presence of Geeta auntie, Mohan uncle, and all the others over there, to talk anything to you all about Swami would be almost blasphemy, I would say, because those are the stories that we have kind of grown up listening to. Our devotion for Swami, whatever we are, whatever little we are, it's because of the giant, the shoulders, the gigantic shoulders of you all the devotees who have been there for decades. So, please forgive me and indulge me just for a few minutes. I'm not sure whether I can really throw any more light than what is already there. Also, I would like to take this opportunity to please request you to disregard whatever Suri uncle just said in terms of an introduction. It was rather embarrassing to hear that. I don't think I have reached. I'm sure, just like Swami would say, mana pillalu gunavantudu, balavantudu, shantudu. Like Swami would always, praise the students, and we would literally be sitting cringe, kind of in a cringed position. Swami, we are nothing like that. And on one occasion when Swami was asked, Swami, why do you praise the students so much? And he said, it is not because they are that, but I want them to become that. And that is why I'm saying it. So I'm sure I'll take Suri uncle's word in that way, that he wants me to become that, all that he mentioned about me. And so, let me start also to take this opportunity to wish you all the most beautiful occasion of the Avatar Declaration. What I would like to share with you is the letter that Swami wrote to his brother in 1947. And in fact, I'll try to kind of base this entire session on just discussing with you the words of that letter. For those of you who know about it, who know something about it, wonderful. I would request you to go deeper into it. And for those of you who already have dived deep into it, I'll ask you to just help me figure out the gems and the pearls which are there at the bottom of that ocean. So to begin with, I thought, let me start with a bhajan on this beautiful Avatar Declaration Day. This bhajan that comes very, very dear to my heart. Probably you can just contemplate and you can think about all of your avatar moments, your moments with Swami as you hear this bhajan. Sai Avatara Yugavatara Deen Dayala Sankatahara Sai Avatara Yugavatara Sai Brahma Sai Vishnu Sai Maheshwara Sai Maheshwara Sai Avatara Yugavatara Satya Sai प्रेम साई सब धर्मों के बाबा साई साई परमेश्वरा साई परमेश्वरा साई अवतारा युग अवतारा. So this bhajan very beautifully covers our Swami, who is an avatar. And let me take you back to one incident that happened. I will start sharing my screen so that you will get an idea of what I am trying to do. So just let me know if you can see my screen. Yeah, are you able to see the screen?
Yeah, we can see it, Amey.
Right. So this was the letter that I was talking about. And oftentimes, in fact, the first thought that comes to my mind is, why did Swami have to declare? Does the Lord have to declare his avatarhood? Is he not the Lord even if he does not declare? And, as I was contemplating on this, a thought came to my mind. You see, avatars very, very rarely declare, they give us a glimpse into their divinity. Very, very rarely. In fact, I would say that the Sri Satya Sai avatar is the only avatar who has given plenty and more of these signs and glimpses into his divinity. You see, for example, the Rama avatar barely ever gave any glimpse. Even it is said that with the Krishna avatar, all of the early Bala Leelas, that he did, just imagine this was the Lord Krishna, who was taken out from the jail, right? He was born in the jail. Overnight, he was transported to Gokul, Vrindavan. And the very first or second day itself, he had done his first Leela, which is Putanavada. And thereafter, several asuras came and they tried to, kill him. They tried to exterminate him. And it is said that time and again, every single time an asura came, and just at that moment where he would be killing the avatar, Mother Yashoda would either swoon and fall down, or she wouldn't be present on that occasion. And therefore, every single time, she would come back to her senses after the Rakshasa or the Asura was killed. She would, pray to Narayana saying, "Thank you, Narayana, for saving my son." Little did she know that it was Narayana himself who had come. So, in fact, you see, even to his own mother, Krishna did not reveal his divinity. In fact, you see this time and again, even in the life of someone like Jesus Christ or in the life of Shirdi Baba. Very, very few times they give a glimpse into their avatarhood. I would say, in that sense, we devotees are spoilt. We cannot be more spoilt, to have at least 1 billion, if not more, in fact, countless glimpses into his divinity. And unfortunately, we as Sai devotees, in spite of he giving us over and over again glimpses into his divinity, we still have doubts. In the sense, we don't have doubts about his divinity, but we find it difficult to consider that, especially in the moments of challenge, that he is with us, right? And therefore, he has to then come out and write letters like the one he has written over here. So in fact, let me just jump into the letter. one of the questions that was, many years ago, we students, we had this tendency to say, Swami, we'll give our life for your mission, and we all talk about the Sai mission. We are part of the Satya Sai mission. So one of the brothers had spoken about being a part of Swami's mission. Swami, we are ready to live for you. Swami, we are ready to die for you, your mission. And Swami very innocently looks at this brother and says, Kani naku ye mission lede. I don't have any mission. Right? Very, very nonchalantly, he kind of says, mission, my mission. Whose mission are you talking about? You see, and when I keep contemplating on this, I think that's the folly that many of us do. We think that Satya Sai Baba has a mission. Just come to think about it, the Paripurna Sachidananda Swarupa, and let me not even go into the Vedantic definition of what is Sat and Chit and Ananda, that Paripurna Paramatma, that Brahmanda Nayaka, by whose mere will, in the name in Lalita Sahasranama, Lalita, it seems the meaning of Lalita means the playful one. Means in her play she created this entire Brahmanda. That is our Swami. Imagine in his play he has created this entire Brahmanda. Do you think he will have a mission? He needs to achieve something. And that is what I wanted to talk to you about. For example, does he have to have a mission? In the Bhagavad Gita chapter 3:22, all of us know, he says to Arjuna, he says, Name parthasti kartavyam trishulokeshu kinchana nanavaptam avaptavyam varta evacha karmani. He says, Arjuna, O Partha, in all of the three worlds, by the way, which I have created, okay, there is no duty whatsoever for me to fulfill. I have no duty in all the three worlds. There is nothing that remains unachieved or that I need to achieve. You see, when we talk about the mission, we always talk about what I want to do, what I want to achieve, what I, either something that I have, which I want to keep it with me, or something that I don't have, I want to acquire. You see, the avatar, he says, I don't have anything. Nanavaptam avatavyam. I don't have anything that I need to achieve or that remains unachieved. Varta evacha karmani, he says, and yet I am the one who acts. The person who has no reason to act, he is the only person who actually acts. That is our Bhagavan. See, these are the little glimpses we get into the avatar. So when Satya Sai says that I have a mission, in fact, in this very letter that he has written, he talks about his mission. And in fact, the very same lines I will show you how Bhagavan, in fact, tells in this very letter. This very same sentiment that Lord Krishna and Gita has echoed is reiterated by Bhagavan in this letter. And so, let me show you the actual letter from the 1947. These are the actual 4-page letter that he wrote to his brother. Swami was barely 21 years old. You can see how beautiful Swami's handwriting is. By the way, he's someone who has not gone to school much. Okay, in the sense his secular education, his school education was just up to 8th class. In fact, he didn't even clear 8th class, right? And look at the pearl-like letters. And in fact, on the second page, which is on your right-hand side, you will see those prophetic, beautiful lines of his mission. Akhila manavulaku anandamuna gurchi. So we will talk about those lines. And in fact, I will share my thoughts on those lines. And in fact, Surya uncle had asked me to share this letter. I was trying to get it. Finally, I begged a few people, and just about 3 years ago, I got the original letter. So, I will also send it with, I'm sharing it with you here. And so the next 2 pages are here, right? This is the entire letter. I just thought, this is a piece of probably one of the greatest moments in history. You see, Gita was not written by Krishna, but we have the Lord himself writing his mission. Oftentimes I feel like, usually when we ask people to, kind of give me in writing, when we say, when they give us a word, we say, give it to me in writing. Send me an email. Don't just give me your word because I don't believe you. I think Swami also was, kind of came with that feeling that these people, unless I write it down, these people will not believe me. And therefore, let me write it down and leave it for posterity. And this is what we have in front of us, the very written word of Swami. And so the lines that I would like to take upon, today is these 5 lines, these beautiful lines in which he kind of outlines what is the purpose or the mission of the Satya Sai avatar. But even before I go into these lines, I wanted to share something with you. How many of us actually know why he had to declare? We all know Bhagavatam, we all know Ramayana, we all know Mahabharata. Do we know our own Sai Bhagavatam? Why did Swami have to declare in such a way on 20th of October in 1940? Why did he have to declare? I don't know whether many of you know the entire saga that happened from the 18th of March 1940 to the 20th of October 1940. Those 9 months were some of the most tumultuous months in the life of our Satyanarayana, in Swami's life. In fact, it is very beautifully kind of captured in the book Love is My Form. So for those of you who know, it will be a repetition. But for some of you, those of you who don't know, this will be a real kind of an eye-opening. In fact, when I kind of read about it and we studied about it, it was shocking, to say the least. So it was on 18th of March 1940, that epic year. 18th of March happened to be Mahashivaratri. Swami, you would go in Uravakonda, near Uravakonda. In fact, we have been to that temple. There is a Shiva temple called the Budagavi Shiva temple. Swami would often go to that temple and he would spend hours on end just sitting in the temple all by himself. And so it was a Shivaratri night. Swami had spent the entire night in that temple. By the way, even now it takes roughly about 10 minutes by car from Uravakonda to that temple. Swami would walk that distance. So it would have been easily at least a couple of hours walk, for Swami across the fields. And it was early in the morning at around 4:30. Swami came back to the home of Sheshamaraju Garu, where he was staying, which is his elder brother. And Venkama Garu, his sister, would apparently sleep right at the entrance. Because the house, even now also, the dilapidated ruins of the house are still there. You can see how tiny the house is. And so there was not much space. And so Venkama Garu would sleep at the entrance. And the toilet was outside the house. It was not even within the house. And Swami came in the morning and Venkama Garu opened the door for Swami to come in. And she said, come in immediately. Where were you the entire night? She asked Swami, where were you the entire night? Brother was asking about you. And so he said, before he wakes up, come in and let him not know that whole night you were sitting in the temple. So Swami said, I will just go to the toilet, I'll wash my feet and I will come back in. And it was that fateful morning when the so-called scorpion, and I'm talking about the imaginary scorpion, which nobody ever saw again in their life, that bit him that early morning. And Swami shouted, Swami screamed out in pain. And that began the long saga which lasted from March to October. From that moment in March, Swami started to behave very, very differently. So there are several instances which are actually, you won't even find this account in the Satyam Shivam Sundaram. Because, in Satyam Shivam Sundaram, Professor Kasturi Garu has gone through quite quickly in that sense. He has not gone into the exact details. So there are several beautiful stories, that would come out in these months. Beautiful as well as kind of, tumultuous. Because it seems what would happen is every now and then Swami would get up and Sanskrit would just flow out of Swami's mouth. You know, Sanskrit, the kind of words which people in that area had never heard of. In that kind of language, Swami would speak. It seems it so happened that right opposite to where Sheshama Rajugaru would stay was a Subramanya temple. And it seems Swami would spend a lot of time in the Subramanya temple as well. We have also been to that Subramanya temple. In fact, the bhajan, Subramanyam, Subramanyam, Shanmuganatha, Swami would sing that bhajan in that temple, it seems. Right from those days. So that was Swami's composition right from his teenage days. And so next to that temple was one Shastri, a very big Shastri, who had invited, who was like the Brahmin of the village, and he had invited a very big scholar who was giving a Parayanam about Bhagavatam. And Swami sitting in the Sheshama Rajugaru's house, he suddenly wakes up, it seems, and says, that Shastri who is giving a talk over there, he's giving the wrong meaning of that particular stanza. Go and correct his, and everybody at home is like, oh God, what is wrong with this, this boy? He's, just imagine a 14-year-old chit of a boy is now correcting one of the great scholars. And so somebody goes to the house and says that there is this boy who says that the explanation you are giving is the wrong explanation. And after the parent, kind of the speech gets over, this Shastri wants to come and see who is this little boy who is, kind of commenting on my commentary. And the moment Shastri enters, Bhagavan, our little Swami Satya, starts to explain to him in Sanskrit and in chaste Telugu the meaning of the Sanskrit shlokas and where he had gone wrong. And listening to that, the Shastri kind of does a Sashtang Namaskar and says, this child is not ordinary. This is truly, a great Mahatma. In fact, that was one of the first kind of glimpses into what Satya was all about. So it started from there. And obviously you can imagine, at home, how people must have felt, his own sister, his own elder brother. In fact, Sheshama Rajugaru wrote a telegram to Mother Ishwarama saying, our boy has lost it. There is something wrong with him. Please come immediately. And the telegram reaches Puttaparthi. The parents immediately start. You can imagine, just for a moment, dear brothers and sisters, just think about what would have gone through Mother Ishwarama's heart. My little child. Imagine after 2 miscarriages, Swami was born. Swami was born after 2 miscarriages, right? It was in answer to that Satyanarayana Vrata that this child was born, and now this boy is behaving so funny. What has happened to my child? So imagine with that kind of, anxiousness in her heart, that anxiety, she comes, and it seems by the time they reach the Uravakonda bus station, Swami asks somebody at home saying that Grihamammai and Abbai have come, bring them directly over here. They are coming, they are thinking that I am somewhere else, bring them over here. And so those were the moments of, kind of omniscience that Swami started showing. I don't want to go into the very many details of those, only to tell you only a few things that obviously we have heard about the exorcism, right? People thought that there was somebody who was kind of possessing Swami. You know why they thought that? Because it seems after a few months, that is March finished, April finished, and then the summer holidays came, and suddenly Swami became kind of normal. Only thing is, every Thursday, suddenly Swami would start materializing things. He would, once the new year started, the new academic year started, Swami went to 8th class. And on Thursdays, Swami wouldn't go to school, because all the children, in fact, his classmates would come near, to his home. And that's where Swami would, start manifesting things, giving them sweets. It seems there was one brother, there was one of his classmates called Abdul. And his job every Thursday was, the moment the satsang with Bhagavan would start, his job was to stand outside and ring the bell in case the headmaster came over there. Right? So the moment, the headmaster would start coming or the teacher from the school would come, his job was to ring the bell so that all the children would kind of, disperse, they would run away. And this Abdul would always say, when will I get a chance to be inside that room? Every time I'm standing outside while, Swami is doing all of these beautiful things. Satya is doing all of these wonderful things. I'm missing out. And Bhagwan said, don't worry, your time will come. Several years later, after Satya became Bhagavan, Abdul had come and he was sitting in the darshan and Swami identifies him in the darshan line and says, come in. And then Swami, of course, rest of it is history because Swami gave him all that, everything for his family. Swami performed his daughter's marriage. Swami gave him, lots, and Swami, in front of everybody, Swami said, this was the boy who would ring the bell every Thursday, in the school. So every Thursday, Swami would show these, these glimpses of his omniscience and his omnipresence. And therefore, that is what got people that normal, just imagine Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, he's normal Satya. Suddenly on Thursday, he would start exhibiting all of these. And that is when they started taking him to not just one, but 3 exorcists. Can you imagine? One after the other, one more powerful, so-called powerful than the other. Incredible. I don't want to go into those sides, but for, to tell you one story, one of our very senior sirs over here, his name is Ramakrishna Reddy sir. He teaches even now in the higher secondary school. In fact, he's retired now. He's in his 70s. He came to Swami in the 1960s, in 61, 62. And he was, at that time, Mother Ishwarama was there. He was a boy of around, 10, 12 years old. And he wanted to have a private conversation with Ishwarama Garu. He would, always see, she would be sitting in one of those rooms in East Prashanti, and always there will be ladies surrounding her. So he wanted, to ask her some questions in private. So he was telling us that on one occasion, when he got an opportunity, one afternoon, Mother Ishwarama was sitting quietly, she was fanning herself. And so he goes and says, Amma, I want to ask you one question. And Mother said, yeah, what is it? And he said, how was Swami when he was of my age? And Mother Ishwarama starts crying because when Swami was of his age, he was going through all of this exorcism. And so the moment Mother, kind of recollected those moments, she couldn't hold back her tears. And then Ramakrishna Reddy sir was telling us, seeing her cry, all the other ladies came and said, what have you done? What have you done to her that she's crying? And they beat him up, it seems. So Ramakrishna Reddy sir said, after that I never went close to Mother Ishwarama because I got beaten up for asking this. But you can imagine the trauma that the mother would have had just to see Swami going through all of this. And of course, all of the beautiful incidences of Virupaksha, in the Virupaksha temple, Swami losing the golden collar pin, Swami being taken to Kadari, and even after the 20th of October, when Swami came back from Uravakonda to Prashanti Nilayam, I feel like those are just today when we look at it, this avatar went through a lot of struggle. We take him so much for granted, today. We just see that, oh, Swami, the Swami that we see is the beautifully orange robe he wears. He sits on these beautiful thrones and, thousands of people around him. And he sits in these, immaculate cars, so on and so forth. But we don't know the struggle, you see. And I feel as Sai devotees, as Swami's disciples, we must know what he went through. So I just wanted to tell you as a precursor to what this declaration was all about. And even after the declaration, in fact, for several years, I'll just tell you one other incident. When Swami came back from Prashanti Nilayam, from Uravakonda, he came back to Puttaparthi, people of Puttaparthi did not accept Swami. They thought that this was some possessed character. In fact, that is why, if you see the Patha Mandiram, right, the old mandir is outside Puttaparthi. It is beyond the Satyabhama temple. It is not, from where the Satyabhama temple is, from there onwards inside is where Puttaparthi village is. In fact, Satyabhama temple was the farthest end of Puttaparthi. That is where Puttaparthi ended. And outside of that was the Pathamandiram. Can you imagine that Swami was not accepted in his own village? And it seems one of the stories say that after he came back, a committee was formed, right? The committee of many villagers in that. So in that was Swami's own father, Pedda Vengamaraju was one of the committee members. Karanam was also, that is Karanam Subbamma's husband. Karanam was also one of the committee members. And there were 3 other people whose job was to kind of keep an eye on Satya. Like, what is he doing? Why is he behaving the way? Because everybody was at the same time they were scared, but at the same time they were also anxious because this was one of their village boys, to whom this had happened, right? So they had all formed a committee, and one afternoon or one morning, I think it was a morning, they all went and they kind of accosted Satya. They said, Satya, what are you doing? Because it seems Satya would get up in the morning, he would clean up the entire house. He had got one small Shirdi Baba kind of a statue that he had made, and he would put a garland for it, and he would just sit over there. And so people would find it so crazy. Can you imagine that back in the 1940s, what that kind of feeling would have been? And so they all come into the house and they say, what is wrong with you? And for the first time, Satya says, look at that wall. And he points at the wall. And for those 5 committee members, they don't see the wall anymore. They see Shirdi. In fact, they are all transported into the neem tree, Sadanimba Vrukshasya Mula Divasat, Sudha Shravinam Diktam Aprapriyantam. That neem tree under which Shirdi Baba had, and the Lendi Bagh which Shirdi Baba had established, and the Dwaraka Mai, Swami starts to take them into a virtual tour of Shirdi. And he says, that is from where I have come. Can you imagine that? Like when I keep thinking about it, I was like, I wish I was one of those committee members, to just get a glimpse of that beautiful. Imagine Swami taking you to Shirdi, right? And so incredible things started happening, right? And yet there was one person, his own brother, Sheshamaraju Garu, found it extremely difficult. He would keep coming. In fact, Swami later on also would say, Sheshamaraju Garu always wanted me to be educated. He wanted me to go to college. He wanted him to become a government employee. Swami should become a government servant, right? Serve the, in Telugu, the word for government is Prabhutvam, right? So Swami would say that he wanted me to serve in the Prabhutvam. He did not know that Prabhu himself has come, right? So Swami would play with that word, right? And it was in answer to his letter that Swami had written this letter, because his elder brother was a Telugu scholar, right? He was a Sanskrit and Telugu scholar. And so he was no mean personality. He was one of the most educated persons of Puttaparthi, Uravakonda. In fact, the higher secondary school was in Uravakonda. Puttaparthi did not even have a higher secondary school. And so he wanted Satya to get educated, probably to earn a degree, to go serve somewhere. And so he was so anxious. And seeing Satya doing exactly the opposite, he's materializing things, getting people around him. He's kind of whiling away his time. And so he had written this letter to Swami. We don't have that letter that he wrote to Swami. We don't have that. But we have this letter, which was the reply to that letter. And, in fact, the letter is on the Sri Satya Sai Media Center website. You can go there on Radio Sai to see Swami's entire, translation. But I will just share with you, those epic statements. And I just thought that let me give you my understanding. And believe me, this is just my attempt at understanding what Swami is trying to say here. Each of you would be having your own. I would request you to dive yourself deeply into these lines and kind of pick out your own gems. You see, Avatar's words are like that. Nobody can ever understand the words of the Avatar. We can only contemplate upon them. And depending upon where we are, we will keep getting our own answers at different points of time. So these are the beautiful words. Akhila manavulaku anandamuna gurchi rakshinchu chundute diksha naku. Sanmargamuna vidi charinchu varala patti kapadute vratamu naku. బీద సాధలకైన పెనుబాధ తొలగించి లేమిని బాపుటే ప్రేమ నాకు. నియమ నిష్ఠలతోడ నను గొల్చు వారిని కాపాడుచుండుటే ఘనత నాకు. మంచి చెట్టులు కూడా మనసులో సమముగా భావించుచుండుటే భక్తి నాకు. Right? The very, very beautiful poetry that Swami has written in the middle of the letter. And so I was just thinking, let me go into each of these. The very first one. Swami says, Akhila manavaluku anandamuna gurchi rakshinchu chundute diksha naku. Please tell me how I'm doing on time. Probably I think I have another 10-15 minutes, if I'm not wrong. And then we can take, I'd love to take any thoughts, any comments, any suggestions, any questions that you may have. So let me quickly jump into. Swami says, I have a task. Diksha naku. Diksha naku means I have a task that I have taken upon myself. You see, the same Krishna who says, Name parthasti kartavyam trishulokeshu kinchana. I don't have any task. Same Krishna says, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chudushkritam. No, for the sake of establishing dharma, I come. See, why is he taking up a task on himself? He doesn't need to do it. Right? So same thing over here, Swami is saying, to foster all of mankind and ensure for them lives full of ananda. You see, for me, the word Akhila Manavulaku, I just wanted to contemplate on that. Once Professor Gokak, one of the doyens of Kannada literature, one of the big awardees, it's called Sahitya Academy Award, which is considered to be one of the great awards in literature, has been given to him. Professor Vinayak Krishna Gokak, the first Vice Chancellor of the university. And he was a great follower of Aurobindo before he came to Bhagavan. And for those of you who have read the works of Aurobindo, they're extremely erudite, extremely scholarly and kind of dense, One line will be like one big paragraph. Just to figure out the meaning of that, forget understanding the meaning, first understand the words and then understand the meaning. That's how it is. Because supra-consciousness, supermind, overmind, undermind, all of these things you will find. Now, someone like V.K. Gokak who had read, who had kind of mastered Aurobindo's literature, he asked Swami, what is the difference between someone like an Aurobindo and yourself? Which means, what is the difference between avatar and a God-realized person? See, at the level at which they are, a God-realized person and God are the same, because Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati. The one who knows Brahma becomes Brahma. So at that level, they are the same. So what is the difference between someone like an Aurobindo and yourself? You see, Swami's answer is a very beautiful answer. It's a very kind of pointed answer. Swami says, all of those realized masters, they are Vyaktinath. Right? He says the word, they are all Vyaktinaths, I am Lokanath. That is, they all come, their purpose is to first of all realize who they themselves are, and then their sphere of influence or the people who are around them are a few people. So their ability to raise people's consciousness is limited to a few around them. Whereas when a Lokanath comes, the entire world gets uplifted at the level of consciousness. That is why Swami over here is saying, Akhila Manavulaku, to foster all of mankind, right? And when he says, so when I now think about it, Swami, but there are 8 billion people on earth. And when you were around, there were about 7 billion people on earth. But 7 billion people did not come to Swami, isn't it? Look at the Bethesda Center over here. I can see so many empty chairs. In the sense that there were people who were supposed to come, but for whatever reason, they did not turn up. Right? Why don't we have, the entire 8 billion people who should have known about Swami? Swami could have easily done it when he's saying to foster all mankind and ensure for all of them lives full of ananda. What the way I understood it, or my interpretation, my contemplation on it, tells me that Swami is trying to tell us that I am giving ananda to everybody. It's like the internet. The internet is there. The waves, the internet waves are there everywhere, all across the world. It is about our ability to tap into that internet and make use of it for ourselves. Electricity is all the, Swami himself would talk about radio waves, right? Radio waves are there everywhere, but you need a radio box to actually capture those waves and then be able to listen to what the radio stations are trying to broadcast. So Swami is telling us that my grace is available to everyone. It all depends on your ability to tap into that grace. Recently there was a cardiac conference we had over here just last month, in the month of September, and a very beautiful thing happened. This was not an ordinary conference, it's the World Heart Day. So the World Heart Federation is one of the biggest association of all the top cardiologists around the world. And the 28th or 29th of September is considered to be the World Heart Day. And so every year they have, conferences around the world. So Paris and New York and Los Angeles and Tokyo and all of these big cities. Just imagine this year, that World Heart Day was observed in Prashanthi Nilayam. Because it so happened that the World Heart Federation president he started his presidency this year, and he happened to be one of the doctors who had come when the super specialty hospital had started in 1991. He was one of the first doctors who had come as a young cardiologist to operate in the Satya Sai super specialty hospital. And when he was talking to one of the devotees, Dr. Krishna from the US, he said, how best to do it? This idea came that why don't we do it in Prashanthi Nilayam? So it was all fixed, right? It's a massive this thing. In fact, their marketing head, one lady, I forget her name now, but she was coming in from Paris or from somewhere in France, and so she kept messaging the people over here. She had landed in Mumbai, and in Mumbai they had these massive hoardings of the World Heart Day. Even in the metro, when she was traveling in the train in Mumbai for some meetings, she had taken a few pictures and videos and sent it back to the Parthi team saying, I have ensured that everybody in the world knows about the World Heart Day. So it is a massive kind of an exercise. Now, what I wanted to talk to you about is the theme of the World Heart Foundation Day. So every year they have a particular theme around which the papers will be presented, etc., etc. This year, the theme was Hari, Vari, Kari. So they, in fact, from Bhagavan's discourses, they picked out, Swami says, in one of the early cardiac symposiums that would be held in 91, 92, 93, Swami had told that all of the heart diseases can be matched, or they can be mapped back to just these three, which is Hari, Vari, and Kari. Right? And the doctors, the top-notch cardiologists who were coming, they said everybody around the world is super excited with just this theme, because they said all the previous year's themes were boring themes. There people were talking about atherosclerosis and its medicinal, for the general public, it couldn't mean anything less. Like, who cares whether it's atherosclerosis or something else? But just the word Hari, Vari, and Kari, it kind of, it resonated with the people around the world. Even a common man could understand, oh yeah, this is the reason, Hari, Vari, Kari. And throughout the conference I was attending, I just went there out of intellectual curiosity to know how ignorant I am. So I was sitting at the back of the Hira Convention Center, and I was trying to understand, let me go and just listen to these top cardiologists to see whether I understand even their first slide. And believe me, after the first two talks, that's it. It was all bouncers after that, because it was all about some enzymes and something they were talking about. It didn't make any sense to me. However, every doctor was saying, every doctor, unequivocally, every doctor was saying, Hari Vari Kari. It is probably the most succinct way of concretizing or symbolizing what we need to do to avoid heart disease. Can you imagine that? Swami had very casually, he would say, Hari Vari Kari. This had now become a buzzword for all the cardiologists. You see, to foster all of mankind. That is what this thought came to my mind, that Swami, years after you have left, every word of yours continues to resonate in every heart that thinks about it, that contemplates on it. Right? So that was about, my thought about the very first line that Swami talks about. Let's move on to the second line. The second line says, Sanmargamunu vidi charihinchu varala patti kapadute vratamu nagu. Says, I have a vow to lead all who stray away from the straight path again into goodness. We all know tremendous stories of transformation, right? Whether it was Kalpagiri, the dacoit who was transformed, whether it is the gentleman who has, one of the thieves who has a beautiful ashram in Mysore. So we know tremendous stories of Swami's transformation. What I wanted to kind of contemplate upon is even we so-called Sai devotees, right? How Swami actually makes it very clear where we are making a mistake. I want to tell you, of course, many of you, you would know about the story, but there was one manager for the South Indian canteen in the 1970s and 80s. I won't tell you his name, but he was from the army, big man, 6 foot plus. And because he was from the army, he was an absolutely strict disciplinarian. And his discipline, the way he would, that his discipline would express itself was in a very rough and rash way. So anybody who would come even a minute after the South Indian canteen would be closed, he wouldn't get food, he would get a dose of medicine from this man, right? And so, just imagine a person coming, let's say his train is delayed or the bus has got delayed, and he's coming in after maybe 1 o'clock or 1:30. They're coming in on a hot afternoon, they just want some buttermilk or something like that. And he would take them to task, you people don't understand, you have no discipline, this, etc. And for years this would go on. And there were lots of complaints also given to Swami, saying, Swami, what kind of a South Indian canteen manager, we have over there? He doesn't know how to speak. And then, Swami would always he would pacify, So Swami was always the public relations officer, chief public relations officer of Prashant Nilayam, looking after every devotee. With the problems in the accommodation office, Swami will look after. In the canteen, Swami will look after. Right? Swami's darshan was such that the moment he would come out for darshan, all our pains of whatever else we would have experienced in Prashant Nilayam would be soothed. Right? So, what I wanted to tell you about this manager was his end, his passing away. Towards the end of this gentleman's life, he had had a stroke, and I would say his condition became pathetic. He was completely immobilized. He used to be in his room, and because of the kind of personality that he had, people would stay away from him. And there would be days, his condition was so bad in the ashram. He was in the ashram, in a room, he would sometimes just roll in his own excreta and his own kind of, incontinence. Right? Can you imagine that? In his own incontinence, he would just be sleeping because he couldn't move and nobody would be there to take care of him. One day, Bhagavan comes to his room. Swami, along with Kudumbarao Garu, Swami went to his room to meet him, to see his condition, and Swami spent a lot of time with him. And while he was so happy and grateful that Bhagavan had come, there was one thought in his mind, and so he kind of, as an hour or so Swami spent. Towards the end of the hour, he asked Swami, I served you my entire life. I tried to give you everything that I had. Swami, why am I going through this right now? I think this is such a, many of us kind of, when we face challenges in our life, Swami, I have done so much for you. Why should this happen to me? What is the purpose of me serving you if ultimately this is also, I'm also going to go through the same thing, right? So he asked Swami, why am I going through this? And you see, Swami gives a beautiful answer. Swami said, because you served me, I have come to your room to pay my gratitude to you. But why are you going through this in spite of serving me is because your inability to see me in all of others. You did not see me in others. You treated them like, outsiders. You treated them like they were criminals. And that is why you are having to go through what you have to go through. But because you were serving me, that's why I have come. You see how God works. Huh? For me, this is one of the things that I constantly contemplate upon. Just because we are doing Samiti work, just because we are doing Sai organization work, we may think, we are doing, we have given weekends to Swami and we have done this and we have done that. Or someone like me, I assume that because I am working in Prashanti Nilayam, I am working in Swami's trust, I am a very blessed soul, etc., etc. No. Swami has given me an opportunity because of my past birth and because of his grace. Yes, you have an opportunity to serve here, but how you serve, that is going to determine your future. You see, Sanmargamanu Vidi, Charihinchu Varala, those, see, even after we get into the spiritual path, we could get lost in the bylanes because of ego, because of our past vasanas, and Swami saying, hey, brother, my child, look after, don't lose your way, focus on me. Right? So, in fact, this is where, I wanted to say that when we attend bhajans, and you're going to have a beautiful 100 bhajans or so, I think, session after, think about why are we sitting and doing bhajans? What is the purpose of bhajans? If after sitting and doing 100 bhajans, if during the bhajans, I am constantly diverted or distracted by who is doing what, right? And, am I getting a chance? Why is so and so getting a chance before me? Why am I asked to sing only this bhajan? You see, all of these thoughts keep going on through our minds. Sisters and brothers, this has happened to me also. I can so kind of resonate with, that feeling that, some of these things without our knowledge, subconsciously they enter into our minds. Right? It is because, these are all the vasanas from our past births. But because of our extreme good fortune, we have come here. Now Swami is saying, Sanmargamunu Vidi. Don't leave this. You have come all the way at, Tere Dar pe jo bhi aaya. You are sitting now in the Darbar of Bhagavan. Now, these few moments or these few days or weeks, if you are not able to focus during our sadhana time, if you are not able to focus, then there is something wrong. Right? So, pardon me if I'm saying something which is, I'm much younger. I should not be telling you this, but for my younger brothers over there, I'll take this as a brother who has gone through that. You please don't go through that, right? Which is sitting for hours and hours. It has happened to me in the Kulbant Hall. I still remember, let me very quickly tell you, during COVID, nobody else was allowed to enter Mandir, right? The entire Prashanti Nilayam was shut. Only Vedam boys and Bhajan boys were allowed to enter into Mandir. So just imagine, in the entire Kulbant Hall, about 8 of us would sit and sing bhajans. And a time came where, so it was 2020, it started from April, and then for months on end, week after week, day after day, morning, evening, they are singing bhajans, right? And the only thought is, who is going to come for the next bhajans? Who is, how many of us are there? Which bhajan should we sing, etc., etc. It became mechanical for me. I would enter bhajan at the Kulwant Hall, sing my bhajan, sing 5 bhajans, get out, come back in the evening. One day when I was stepping out, for the Aarti time, they would open the Ganesh gate, and some of our staff members who were otherwise working, they would come outside the Kulwant Hall, near East Prashanti, they would stand, just take Aarti, from there. And so one of my colleagues who works with me in our office, he was standing outside. I finished bhajans, I stepped outside, and he just came up to me and said, "Brother, how blessed you are that you are able to go into Kulwant Hall every day. It's been months and weeks since I have even stepped into Kulwant Hall." And that is when it kind of, came and hit me. The greatest opportunity of life is being given to me. What am I doing with it? I am thinking of who is going to come for bhajan, how I should coordinate the bhajans, who is going to sing what, why this person is singing that bhajan. What a waste of time. Right? Here are people who are dying to get into Kulwant Hall. I am getting it freely. Why? Because I've been blessed with a voice. Swami is telling me, Sanmargamunu Vidi, Cherainchu Varana, Patti Kapad, I will hold your hand and I will bring you back on track. So I think we Sai devotees, we have that unique opportunity to kind of keep on contemplating on our sadhana. Many times, these bhajans that we attend, these programs that we attend, remember for many of them, for others, these are all naimittika karmas. That is, these are karmas which we will come and they are supposed to benefit us. Remember, you keep on doing these naimittika karmas, eventually they become nitya karmas, which means they become your maintenance activity, not your progressive activities. I don't want to go too much into that, but the fact that let us be very vigilant. Okay, so what Swami is telling us over here in this line is to be vigilant. Where we will get, where we will kind of lose our way and we will get into the bylanes instead of staying on the highway. Right? Now, next line. Okay, I think I'm taking way too much time for each of these. So let me very quickly go to the next few lines. Yes. Be the sadhana kaina. Penubhada tuluginchi. Lemini babute premana. Right? So here, this one particular thought comes to mind, which is how Swami would respond to this be the sadhana kaina. Penubhada, all the badhas, no? I remember some of our brothers telling us, we would, some of these brothers who would serve Swami inside, his room, we would keep asking them, what does Swami do? What does Swami do? And so some of the brothers were telling us that Swami, he has Shauri uncle, Shauri auntie's husband, when he was alive, one of his duties was to read the newspaper to Swami. Can you imagine that? So he would go through the newspaper, he would just read the kind of the headlines. So his job was that when Swami would come down, his job was to kind of abreast, kind of give Swami the, I think with the US president, they have what is called the some security report which comes in the morning. I equate it with that. Swami would get his own little brief in the morning of what's happening. So, Swami reading the newspaper. You see, we also read newspapers, but the way Swami would read a newspaper was very different. Whenever Swami read a newspaper, there was a project which was coming up. You see, when we read a newspaper, we blame government, we will blame one ideology, we will blame this person, that this fellow is not working, that fellow is useless, how could this happen, Kali Yuga has come, etc., etc. When Bhagavan read the newspaper, you see, projects were materializing. One time he read the newspaper, Grama Seva started. Right? He himself came and told us in the bhajan on. In the newspaper, he read an article of a mother feeding poison to herself and then poison to her children because there was no food in the house. And Swami came and said, how can this happen? In Tyaga Bhumilo, in Yoga Bhumilo, in this Bharat, how can this happen? And the entire grand scheme of Grama Seva going from house to house. That started. Swami said, I want you to go house to house. You see, another time he read the newspaper, the Orissa housing project came into being. When he came to know that thousands of, lakhs of people had lost their houses, what was Swami's reaction to that? Swami's reaction is, I will build them houses. You see, one more time Swami read the newspaper or he saw the long lines of people standing and taking water. Chennai got water. You see, what my point is, of course, Bhagavan can do these kind of incredibly large projects. What Swami is trying to tell us, right, is that in this line, the moment we see somebody suffering, can our heart melt? Can the compassion in our heart say, you know what can I do for you? Why? Because I am trying to remove my own pain. I am not trying to remove somebody else's pain. You see, Bhagavan, when he defines service, his definition of service is probably one of the most incredible definitions of service. He says, in service, you are not removing, you are not upgrading that person's pain. You are removing your own pain which you feel when you see that person. And therefore, that person is Narayana. Because the sense of karuna is coming in your heart when you are face to face with that person. So it is to remove your pain that you are doing seva, not to remove somebody else's pain. Right? That is real Narayan seva. So Swami is saying, Veera sadala kaina penubhada tolaginchi. So he is saying, when we do service, that must be the sentiment with which we do service. For lack of more time, I will very quickly just go to the next two lines. Right? Niyama nishthala. Okay, I think I'm not sharing. Just let me quickly share. Yeah. Niyama nishthala toda nanu gulchu varini apadu chundute ghanata. This word ghanata is actually my glory. The reason why I can be proud of myself, how beautiful this line is because I protect all those who worship me and adore me. What an incredible line. Though for me, when I read this line, what comes to my mind is Ananyas Chintayantoma Yejana Pariyupasate Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam Yogakshemam Bhamya. Says, I will protect, I will carry the burden of those who think of me incessantly. It becomes, their problems become my problems. Why? Because they are not thinking of their problems, they are thinking of me. And therefore, I have to now think of their problems. Right? I'll just share with you this beautiful story. There was one great scholar, his name was Jagannath Mishra, many centuries ago, about 300-400 years ago. One of the great scholars who has written a beautiful commentary on Bhagavad Gita. He himself, scholars in those days, they never chased money. And so there was hardly anything in their homes, in his home. So one day, this Ananyas Chintayantuma, in fact, is a beautiful shloka. It is also the middlemost shloka of the entire Bhagavad Gita. It comes right in the middle. It is the 365th shloka. Okay, and that is why it is the fulcrum on which the entire Bhagavad Gita kind of revolves. The number of shlokas before Ananyas Chintayantuma and after Ananyas Chintayantuma are equal. This comes in the 9th chapter. It is the middlemost shloka. So he was writing his commentary on this shloka. And you see the word Vahamyaham is a very beautiful word. Vahami means to carry. Okay, so he says, Yejana Pariyupa Tesha Nitya Viyuktana Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. He says, I carry the Yoga Kshema of my devotees. Now, Jagannath Mishra, who was a great scholar and a devotee, he thinks in his mind, why does the Lord have to carry? Is he some kind of a coolie? Is he some kind of a porter who has to carry our burdens? No, Swami. Lord should not say like this. He should say, Yoga Kshemam Dadamyam. I give Yoga Kshema. I don't carry the Yoga Kshema. And so he cuts Vahamyam and he writes Dadamyam. And soon he has finished his little commentary. He has gone out now. And before he go get something from outside. And he just says, Krishna. A few moments later, this boy leaves and Jagannath ji comes back. And she says, what kind of a person you are? You're beating, you're abusing this child, such a charming boy. And he says, hang on. Who? What happened? He says, what do you mean what happened? That boy whom you said has come over here. And he says, which boy? And then so she starts to describe, and needless to say, Jagannath ji had not sent anybody. And this little boy was Krishna himself. And then she looks at him and says, why did you beat him? He says, I did not even see him. He says, no, there was a big red line on his back. And that is when he realizes, oh my God. He says, Vahamyam Yoga Kshemam, he carries the burden of his devotees. He says, that line which he had struck out, Vahamyam, and he had written Dadamyam, that line had come on the back of Lord. Why I feel very emotional about the story is that, you see, his word is him. Every word of Gita is Bhagavan Krishna. Similarly, every word that we are now looking at is Bhagavan Shri Satya Sai. Right? When we look at his words, we are looking at Swami. And therefore, how can we say our Swami is left? Because his words are with us and he is his word. Right? So I just feel like, when he says, in this line, when he says, Niyama Nishthala Toda, Nanu Gulchu Varini, Kapadu Chundute, I protect and worship for those who adore me. Right? And finally, the last line. Are you able to see? Have I shared it? Yeah. Manchi Cheddulu Kuda, Manasulo Samamuga Bhavinchu Chundute, Bhakti Naku. So till now, you see, all of these lines is what I am going to do. So Bhagavan is saying, this is my vow, this is my task, this is what I do, what I like to do, etc., etc. The last line is now for us. If you call yourselves a devotee, then Bhagavan says, this is my definition of devotion. What is Bhagavan's definition of devotion? Those who are devoted to me have to treat joy and grief, gain and loss with equal fortitude. Manchi Cheddalu Kuda, that is, Manchi is good, Chedda is bad. So both of these, Manasalo Samamuga Bhavinchu Chundude. These are very, very powerful lines that Swami is giving to us now to contemplate upon. Have we reached that level where both good and bad, gain and loss, praise and blame, joy and sorrow are the same to us? That means that we have his devotees. If we are able to have that equanimity, why? Because we have surrendered. Because we know that he is going to patti kapa today. He is the one who is looking after me. He is doing the yoga kshema for me. Right? So where is the question of me having any, so let me just tell you how this Samamuga, I just would like to kind of finish with this. Maybe let me just show you the last lines of this letter. In fact, towards the end of the letter, this is the line that he writes. He says, I will not give up my mission nor my determination. I know that I will carry out. Okay, internally, I am unconcerned. I act, but in the outer world. You see, same lines. Name partasti kartavyam. I talk and move about for the sake of the outer world and for announcing my coming to the people. Else, I have no concern even with these. You see, very, very clear Swami Bhagavan is. Right? For me, the world is something afar, apart. I act and move only for the sake of mankind. No one can comprehend my glory, whoever he is, whatever his method of inquiry, and however long his attempt. You can yourself see the full glory in the coming years. This is the words that he had written to his brother in 1947. Devotees must have patience and forbearance. See, once again, he's giving Shraddha and Saburi. Must have patience and perseverance. And then I love these last lines. He says, I am not concerned, nor am I anxious that these facts should be known. Because I don't need any reason. Akhila Manavuragu. I don't need to reach out to the whole world. I don't want my devotees to tell the whole world this is the avatar, etc. I'm not concerned that these facts should be known. I have no need to even write these words. He says, I wrote them because I felt you would be pained if I do not reply. Wow. This is the last line of that letter. Right? So this is where I wanted to kind of stop by just telling you, one of the brothers who was with Swami, who at the end in the hospital, he was telling us that sorry, I get very emotional when I say this. That, Swami was on the ventilator. Swami was intubated and there were pipes running through Swami's. You can imagine that, it's a very hair-raising just to even think of our Swami going through that. Just imagine all the needles poking him, etc. And Dr. Venugopal, one of the great cardiologists, the first cardiac surgeon, the one who had performed the first cardiac surgery in Bhagwan's hospital, had come to see Swami. As a professional, as an expert, he had come. And he enters into Swami's room and he holds Swami's hand and he just asks Swami, Swami, Meeru ela unnaru Swami? Swami, how are you? He asks. And just imagine Bhagavan with that amount of pain that he had gone through. Swami, for a moment, it seems he opened his eyes, looked at Dr. Venugopal, he smiled and he says, Bangaru, nen haiga unna. I am absolutely fine. You see, that is who Bhagavan is. మంచి చెట్టులు కూడా సమముగా మనసులో సమముగా భావించుచుండుటే. Imagine lying over there, knowing that the body is going to now slowly, go off. He says, in high ground. Who is that one who is saying in high ground? He is the Lord who is the indweller in each and every heart. Let us contemplate on that Lord who is seated in this heart of ours. These were some of the thoughts that I wanted to share. Sorry for taking so much more time, but thank you so much for this opportunity to contemplate once again on Bhagwan's words. Sai Ram to everyone.
We're not surprised that this is such a wonderful, I don't know what is the best word to use, a journey of about an hour, which took us so much more closer to Swami. And it just shows that what I said at the beginning of your talk is all true. So, I don't want to leave the opportunity to have a couple of questions, even though we're running a little bit behind, but It's a great opportunity to have brother here. So first, let me ask one of the uncles to ask a question. Uncle Govind Rao.
Sairam, Amey, this was wonderful. Let me drop
Sairam sir, so happy to see you.
drop the uncle title. You know, what you said particularly resonated. You're there in Prashanti, even that becomes mundane. And to an outsider, you know, you think how wonderful it is. That is something I struggle with all the time. How do we stay connected to Swami? How do we, that awe and wonder, how do we never lose? That is always a struggle for me, and I'm sure for many of my brothers and sisters.
No, I think you have asked $1 million question. I would say none more than you. In fact, all of you who are in Washington all the way, thousands of miles apart, you are able to focus so much more on Swami. We in Prashanti Nilayam, we have the unique privilege of forgetting Swami. I would say not privilege, the misfortune of forgetting. Just imagine, we have on our walls, we have Swami's pictures, and yet we forget. Right? It's only because I think, as Bhagavan, I would say, that awareness, it kind of, let me share one very beautiful incident that comes to mind. Swami had been to Delhi in 1999, when the International Center had been inaugurated. And some of the Delhi youth, they were in top form at that time. And so soon after Swami came back, they also came to Bharti. And Swami would talk to them a lot because, Swami had built that rapport. They had built a rapport with Swami. And so, they had spent a glorious time. Just imagine building up to Swami's visit to Delhi, then hosting Swami in Delhi, thereafter coming back to Bharti. So it was like 3-4 months of continuously having Swami around you. And so in one of their last interactions, in the interview room, they said, Swami, now we will go back to Delhi, Swami. And Swami, we will forget you. Like, Swami, when we are here with you, we remember you, we are constantly, we are constantly in your aura. And why does this happen that in spite of knowing you like this, we go back to Delhi and we forget you? I'm sure that question resonates with all of us over here, right? And Bhagavan's answer was a beautiful answer. It's probably one of the most, I would say, one of the most Vedantic answers. Swami said, forget me. Do you remember yourself in Delhi? That was the question he asked. Forget whether you remember me. Do you remember yourself in Delhi? You see, what happens to us is we go through life without much contemplation. For us, every day is an event. We wake up in the morning to do an event, and then we sleep at night contemplating on the next day's event. You see, and one of the things, and I feel many times I kind of wonder, especially this 100th birthday, event after event after event after event, right? In Prashanti Nilayam, we have had thousands of events, right? How often do we kind of pause and ponder? What is the purpose of this event? What am I doing this for? Who am I doing this for? So I think that kind of awareness, I think that pause button, I think it's a really important button, especially in this day of, scrolling. We take our phones and that's it. We are just going this way, this way, this way. Once in a while, if we can just pause, why am I scrolling? What's the purpose? So I think that will, so just remembering who we are, right, will help us remember Swami. I mean, this was just my thought on that.
Can we have one question from the women's side also, and then we can wrap up? Yeah, then you go ahead.
Sairam, it was a glorious presentation on a glorious day. Thank you so much. My simple question is related to what you mentioned about how Swami felt on the day of his, when Dr. Venugopal came and asked how he was feeling. And I wonder whether Swami has expressed anything related to how his mission was accomplished as an avatar. I'm sure he has had so many internal discussions with Brother Satyajit or yourself and Dr. Sundarayar and so on and so forth. Any insights on what might have gone through his head even before going to the hospital and how he felt about how his avatar was perceived and is going to be taken up by devotees past his time, Sairam?
As as we were mentioning, right in the beginning, the avatar doesn't need to achieve anything. The avatar really does not come to establish something or remove something, or even all of this Bhagwan. In fact, I can tell you one thing. I'll tell you this beautiful story that was narrated to us by a very senior devotee, and this was told to him by Colonel Jogara. You all, and I don't know whether you all know Colonel Jogara. Geeta Aunty, of course, will be knowing. Mohan Uncle and Govindra sir also will be knowing. And you could probably tell them something about Colonel Jogara. He was like before Anil Kumar sir. In fact, one of the clown figures. I should not say clown figures, but one of the most very light-hearted figures with Bhagavan was Colonel Jogara. Swami's liberty with Jogara and Jogara's liberty with Bhagavan, it's almost like unparalleled. Even today, in fact, when I speak to Mr. Chakravarti sir, he tells us stories of Colonel Jogara. For example, Colonel Jogara was this really big-sized man. He was an engineer from the Army Corps, and after his retirement, he had come and he would stay with Swami. And I mean, just to tell you like a few, maybe one instance. In fact, the Hanuman statue, that we have, the 65-foot Hanuman statue, Colonel Jogara was the in charge of that. He's the one who was the engineer behind the entire Hanuman statue. And so he was a very, very intriguing personality. Every rule that we thought that couldn't be broken, that Swami had set up, Colonel Jogara would break it. Just to give you a very, I hope this does not get me into trouble. But let me say it nevertheless. We heard this from none other than someone like Chakravarti sir. Swami had once sent Colonel Jogara with some money to Bangalore. Swami told him, give this to certain devotee. Colonel Jogara, he would go to Bangalore and he would go to the Rotary Club. That was a place where he would, some downtime he needed from Swami also. Too much spirituality. He would go and he would, kind of play some cards and all that. And he had this habit of betting also. And he got so lost in that game that he forgot to deliver the money that Swami had given to him to be delivered. Next day he came back to Parthi and Swami said, Jogara, Ichchava, Dabru Ichchava, did you give the Oh, Swami, I forgot. And he said, I know what you have done with that money. And he said, that is why I knew that you will forget. That's why I sent another bundle with another devotee to That was Colonel Jogara. Okay. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is, once to Jogara, Swami said, all of these Shishta Rakshana, Dushta Shikshana, Bhakta Poshana, Veda Rakshana, Veda Poshana, all of this is only for telling. Dharma Samsthapanarthaya Sambhavami, all of this is just for outsiders. The purpose of the avatar is only one. Okay? And he says, what is that? You will be surprised to know that. Or in fact, once you hear this, everything becomes very clear. So he says, the only purpose of the avatar is to settle accounts. The avatar comes to settle accounts with his devotees. You see, there is no other reason why the supreme infinite Paramatma Swarupa has to take a finite form. Do you mean to say that in his infinite form he cannot achieve Dharma Samstapana? We call him the Almighty Lord. You think he is almighty minus ability to establish Dharma? Then why does he come down on earth? There's only one thing he cannot do in his almighty form, and that is to come and spend time with his devotees. See, some devotee must have told Swami, I want to operate on you. Okay, then Swami will have a fall. Then some devotee will come. Somebody would have prayed, Swami, I want to feed you. Okay, you see, all the devotees, millions and millions of devotees over millions of yugas, they would have prayed to Swami in their own ways in the past, that Swami, I want to come and do this for you. Maybe, like someone like Professor Govind Rao sir, would have prayed, Bhagavan, I want to come and teach you. I want to come and teach. And so Bhagavan said, okay, so now Govind Rao sir has to come, so let me establish a university. And then let me have some students. And then let me have him coming to the university. You see, nothing of Swami he will let go like that. Because that joy, he can give only in that physical form. So, he doesn't need to achieve anything. There is nothing that, okay, this much I have done, now you all do this much, etc., etc. You see, in fact, one of the questions that was asked to Swami, I'm sorry, I'm just going on and on. For Swami's Sahasra Purna Chandra Darshanam, Swami's 83rd birthday, if you remember, they had celebrated this beautiful yajna of Sahasra Purna Chandra Darshanam, it is considered that by the time you reach the age of 80, you would have seen 1,000 full moons. And so that's, the 80th birthday is considered to be Sahasra Purna Chandra Darshanam. So they were celebrating it for Bhagavan. And some of the biggest, Pithadipatis, all the Shankaracharyas were invited. So you would have seen that on the stage, there are all of these very, very, kind of Pithadipatis from all over the country. And so it was around that time that one of the senior devotees had asked Swami, Swami, who will be the Pithadipati after you? I don't know, first of all, who is this great devotee who had the guts to ask such questions? But, and you know what was Bhagavan's answer? Bhagavan's answer, only Bhagavan, only an avatar can give this answer. He says, I am not a Pithadipati, I am the Pitham. I am the Pitham itself, upon which everybody else comes and sits. You see, in Vedanta, there is a concept of Kutastha. Okay, Kutastha means the anvil. You see, and on the top of an anvil, all the iron rods are put and they are hammered. Okay, the hot iron is brought into shape on top of the anvil. You see, nothing happens to the anvil. That is also made up of iron only, but nothing happens to the anvil. That anvil is called Kutastha. That Kutastha, that is the Pitham. Okay, on which all religions, all philosophies, all ideologies, on whom that rests, that is Satya Sai. So Satya Sai doesn't have to have, so whatever he speaks, whatever he tells, remember he is doing it only for our sake. He doesn't need to achieve. So my answer to that question on did he ever give an insight into his avatar? Whatever insight he gives, we will never be able to understand. Right? He himself writes in the letter, right? Whoever, with how much ever effort, for however period of longevity of time, you will not be able to understand me. What we have to do is we have to understand ourselves. So that would be my humble kind of response to that.
So I know we are running a little bit late, but I don't want to leave out the SSSC children who are here if they have a question. Yeah, you have a question? Oh, he's saying he's good. Young girls? Young girls? No, people are a little bit shy. So, Amey, brother, thank you so much. Usually we summarize these talks, but I should not even attempt it because you were so clear and I don't want to ruin anything in that. Thank you so much. I just have to say that looks like your talk has gone viral from the time you started, that the hall is now almost full.
No, I am sure that is for the bhajans.
Or something else.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for allowing me to indulge in my little ramble or my rant over here. All of you are far, far more knowledgeable. Your experiences with Bhagwan are far more. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. Wishing all of you a very, very, very happy, happy, happy birthday of Bhagwan. In each one of your hearts, and a very happy Diwali. And may you all have the most blissful time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Don't go away yet. Don't go away yet. We consistently give a very small token of our appreciation as a gift to our guests. You are not here physically, but we have a way of doing things here in South Bethesda. So we are going to get you something physically through somebody whom you love and who has actually inspired me to invite you here. So I think you know who it is. Mrs. Geetaram is going to bring this wonderful gift to you, Amey, on behalf of the South Bethesda Center. Thank you so much. Very good, Geeta.
This is really not necessary. You all, your blessings is what I seek. That's much more than I can ever ask for. But thank you so much, so kind of you. And at some point of time, Swami willing,
Yes,
we will be there.
I'm sure Swami will bless us with that. And I'm sure Geeta will grade you when she comes there. Thank you so much, Amey. Really, really, really appreciate it. Have a great good night.
Enjoy the bhajans, everyone. Have a wonderful time. Thank you.